So yeah, diving into the results, it was by any measure that you want to look at it was a landslide. I mean, the SNP absolutely cleaned house. It was, you look at the map and electorally, it's, you've got a couple of blue areas hanging on and a couple of a Lib Dem places, and Labour just about clung on to two constituency seats and a fill-in list vote as well, which then brings things up a bit more proportionally, which it should. That's how democracy should be. You should have proportional representation. So you've got the first past the post, which gives you an indicator of where the country is, and then you've got the list to sort of fill in to actually give you a bit of true representation in Parliament. So obviously the SNP got 64 seats. Greens got 8, so that's likely to be your coalition there. The SNP, in a system that's designed to prevent an outright absolute majority, came 1 seat short of an outright absolute majority. So, that's just incredible. You can combine Conservative, Labour and Lib Dem seats, which is the unionist vote, and they still have less seats than the SNP. So it's quite an incredible sort of result there. Just amazing to get that kind of result on this system. And then obviously the Conservatives sort of no shift at all. That vote still stayed heady. They got 31 seats. Labour lost 2, and Greens gained 2 so they're up to 8 now. Could have had a few more. We'll talk about that later. And the Lib Dems lost 1, so they're down to 4. So they were last term as well, but they are still the smallest represented party in Scottish Parliament. So just on the numbers front, is there anything, any takeaways you want to talk about there?
Nothing too glaring, but I think definitely when we look at the Conservatives vote, although there was no change in overall numbers, they lost a few constituencies, but then made up for that in the list votes. And of course, especially on the unionist side of the equation, there was a lot of kind of incentives for tactical voting and things like that. So,
and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So they did swallow up quite a few tactical votes as well, and managed to maintain
the list. Yeah, definitely on the list. Yeah,
managed to maintain their numbers, but I think they should also be kind of disappointed with these results, because in essence,
they didn't shift at all. It just shows you that that is pretty much the Tory vote, which is sort of 21-22%. So they didn't move in there. Like you say, they lost a number of constituency seats, which are the headline ones, and then obviously they got them filled in proportionally on the list, where the SNP got penalised, of course, because they won most of the constituencies. So.
And quite a big, maybe quite a big statement victory for the SNP would be Ruth Davidson's old seat falling.
Yeah,
because she was. I remember back when was it? 5 years ago when the last election happened. A lot of the mainstream media was like, she's going to save the Tory party in Scotland, turn them into an election-winning force north of the border. Made quite symbolic that her seat was one of the seats to go this time round, and
won comfortably. They won that comfortably, I think, Edinburgh Central.
By a majority of 11%. They've lost that. Although obviously she wasn't standing there this time. No. I think that is a big swing, and brings an end to that kind of era of at least the mainstream media even pretending that the Conservative Party are a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Like I say, so in terms of the numbers, what we're going to see is I think an SNP Green coalition, like we said. I think in the previous term it wasn't a coalition technically; it was a sort of supply and support agreement. So the Greens would just help out the SNP on key votes, and in return the SNP would table certain policies that the Greens wanted. I hope it is a true coalition this time. I think. I didn't really like the arrangement last time. It was fine; it got the job done. But I would prefer them just to go for a straight coalition, share power, and hopefully come up with some really exciting policy. and work together on that and forge policy that maybe is not everything the SNP wants and not everything the Greens want, but a nice combination of the two, because I think both parties, I like I said, I voted for both of those parties, so I'm very happy with their both their manifestos. I think they both had really strong points in there, and rail nationalisation, nationalisation of the care service, green initiatives, green jobs, financial help for the young, freezing council tax, all these sorts of things that sort of both parties were really championing, and obviously sorting out the bus services as well, free bus passes for anyone I think under the age of 18 or maybe even 20. So all this sort of stuff is vital if we're going to come out of COVID and recover. And I think based on what the manifestos were telling me from both parties, I think they've got a lot of policy in there that could really do that and move Scotland in an exciting direction. I don't know what your feel on the coalition is.
Definitely. I think just a kind of a key part is that both their manifestos were quite focused towards recovery, but also kind of recovery of younger people. You mentioned like the under 18s, free bus fares. I know that's something that people are pushing for in Glasgow. And also the guarantee of a job or an apprenticeship or something like that.
Yeah.
SNP manifesto as well. And I think these are really key policies, because the people who were obviously hit hardest by COVID-19, obviously not the people who died, because they were obviously hit hardest, but it was kind of older and holders of assets who suffered the least.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the younger people, the people joining the workforce, coming out of school, coming out of university, those kind of 24s and under, that demographic, which really has kind of had a year and a half of emptiness where they haven't been able to get their careers started. And
the young are absolutely hammered. I work with a lot of young people in my job, and it's been heartbreaking because there were loads of people who graduated last year who were coming out doing voluntary work with me, because that's part of my role, and talking to them and sort of saying, what are you thinking? And just said, there's nothing there. There's nothing. There's nothing. There is nothing for me. And that's obviously, I think that's across the world. I think the young have been absolutely hammered by this, and
exactly
we need to recognise that. We need to recognise that, and there needs to be policy directed at these people who have literally been hung out to dry through no fault of their own. It's not like they did anything wrong. They were screwed by global events, and I can't even. It's hard enough being. We're obviously a bit older. It's hard enough being our age. We've done all right. It's not been easy. I cannot imagine being their age and having to deal with this. It gives me anxiety just thinking about it.
No, exactly, and that's what. And like you said, and I'll just reiterate. That's why it's so important to get those key policy positions that focus on the people who were probably disadvantaged the most during this time, because as we get older and obviously lots of people struggled, but the buffers, kind of the defense mechanisms we have as we get older and have kind of assets and things like that, enables us to be more kind of secure in these times. Whereas the young coming up, it's good that we've got a kind of a young, focused, or at least a few policy positions which are distinctly designed to benefit them, definitely.